Öncelikle herkese merhaba demek istiyorum. Ramazan bayramı tatilinden sonra böyle ondan önceki bir haftayla beraber herkesin güzel bir tatil geçirdiğini ve dinlendiğini umuyorum. Ben de bu arada biraz dinlenme fırsatı buldum tabii ki. Ama tabii ki işler yapıyoruz. Sonuçta buradayız. İnşallah ilk haftanız güzel ve dinlenceli geçmiştir. Önümüzdeki hafta yarın ekranı niyeyse yapıyorsunuz. Sonra falan. Dolayısıyla bu iki haftanın sizin için iyi geçtiğini umuyorum. Bugün burada sevgili Deniz hocamın çok sağ olsun kabul ederek bize güzel bir seminer ve workshop yapmasıyla beraber buradayız. Kendisini zaten tanıyorsunuz. Çok uzun anlatmaya gerek yok. Deniz Hoca, Türkiye'nin en önde gelen üniversitelerden birisinde çalışıyor. Üniversitesinde. Ve aynı zamanda da kendisi alanında bilinen bir kişi. Sağ olsun bize bu konuda güzel bir destek verdi. Öte yandan bunu organize eden tabii ki Arzu Hocam'a da çok teşekkür ederim. Kendisi de ve ona yardım eden tüm arkadaşlar tabii ki bu etkinliği güzel bir şekilde organize ettik. İnşallah bu etkinliklerde size faydalanabilecek, uygulanabilecek, güzel, kendinize çıkaranlar yapabileceğiniz bir aktivitelerle buradan ayrılmış olursunuz. Bu gibi etkinliklerimiz inşallah devam edecek. 24-25 Haziran'da da biliyorsunuz 2 günlük bir ELT Days organizasyonu var. Bunlar tabii ki önümüzdeki sene mutlaka yapmaya planladığımız daha kapsamlı, tam anlamıyla bir sempozyumun da işaret fişekleri aslında. Bunu da gerçekleştirmek istiyoruz. Çünkü 3000 üzerinde öğrencisi, 150-160 yakın öğretmeniyle beraber, belki daha fazla bilemiyorum. Burada sıraladığımızdan belli zaten. Öğretmeniyle bu gibi etkinliklerin okulumuzda ben gerçekleştirilmesi gerektiği kanaatindeyim. Bundan dolayı da buraya geldiğiniz, değerli vaktinizi ayırdığınız için size çok teşekkür ederim. İnşallah herkes için verimli, güzel bir seminer, bir workshop olur. Ben daha fazla uzatmadan sözü Deniz Hocam'a bırakacağım. Kendisine tekrar çok teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkürler, sağ olun. Çok teşekkürler. I'm just wondering if you will be able to hear me like this without a microphone, or if it's better with this, but it's not on. Şimdi mi açık? Bir deneyelim. Battery low diyor. Okay, tamam. Böyle başlayalım. Olmazsa eğer zorlanırsam alırım. Okay, well, it's my first time at Yıldız Teknik University. So I'm very excited to be here with a wonderful crowd. In fact, Arzu told me that I shouldn't be scared if I see a big crowd in the hall, and that's exactly what's happening. Normally, I would love to be down there, but I think I need to stay here so that I'm able to see all of you and you're able to see me. Hope this is a good session for you. I don't know how much workshop-y we can make it, considering the size of the group, but we will try with some specific tasks, and hopefully each one of you will take maybe one little idea, hopefully more, back to your classes. Before I start, maybe I should say that I worked at Bilkent for 15 years, and at Sabancı, this is my 17th year, and so you can figure out the age, obviously. The reason I'm saying this, I mean, you can find this in my biodata, but students are students everywhere. In fact, İsmail Hoca and Arzu and our colleagues, assistant directors, were having a conversation right before we came here about student motivation. And I know for a fact from our students that they really are students everywhere. I also know this from my own son, who is just finishing 16 this year. And it's very similar as an age group. When I observe him and I observe my students, the sleep problems, the not wanting to read problems, not carrying books or pens or paper. By the way, you have your papers, but that wasn't because I don't trust you. it's because, you know, you may not have thought of bringing some paper along, and we'll need some paper. So that's why I'm saying this to you. Unfortunately, the job lies with us. How nice it would be if students could come closer to us in terms of our expectations. But that's a myth. It is a myth. Unfortunately, more of the responsibility lies on our shoulders as teachers. So it's us who need to make the readjustments. It's us who need to change, if we need to, some of the aspects in our teaching. That is why the title of my session focuses on motivation and engagement. If you notice the comparative there, it says towards greater motivation, because we can never have full motivation with any student, let alone with us as teachers. I don't know how many of you actually want to be here now, but it's a fact. It's a fact. And, you know, it's a very nice idea to have PD activities, no doubt. But at the end of the day, you know, we know individually that our motivations differ. And that's a fact. It's the same with our students. We have very motivated students, but we have also students who, you know, are straight out of bed, and most of them actually, who need to be motivated by us mostly. Okay, well, this one is one of my favorite photos. You might have seen it at maybe another presentation. I don't know if any of you were at other presentations I may have given at conferences. How do you think I felt there? I was feeling there. Any guesses? Lonely? I can't hear the others. Lonely? Happy? Peaceful? Relaxed? Confused? Lost. Okay, so please remind me at the end of the session, and we will finish with the same slide. I'll tell you how I felt on that day, okay? All right. Whether you got close, I'm not sure. Okay, so this is meant to be a 90-minute session. I hope you will be able to hang in there. I don't know if you feel very hot, or are you doing okay for now? But if you feel you can't breathe, of course, you're free to leave for a bit of fresh air. And I'm sorry about my colleagues who are sitting right outside the door. I hope maybe that's one reason why I should be using a microphone. Little hiccup there. If we can concentrate, it's a very short video. Okay, as you have probably guessed, this is my son when he was 3 years old. He looks nothing like that at the moment. But it's one of my most favorite videos simply because the freedom with which he expresses his thoughts and his drawing, the colors, the confidence he has, the happiness he feels when he's sharing this. And he even, I don't know if you heard that bit, he tries to draw his father's attention, saying, because, you know, the father is filming, Baba, you know, like, are you listening to me? Sort of second there. And the other reason I wanted to share this with you is related to, I hear my echo, please tell me if it disturbs you, okay? All right, an experiment by psychologist Michael Robinson. He worked with a few hundred undergraduate students and put them into two groups. Group one, he said to them, you are 7 years old and your school is cancelled. You have the entire day to yourself. What would you do? Where would you go? Who would you see? Group 2, exactly the same task, but without the first line. In other words, to group 2, he didn't say, you are 7 years old. Both groups were asked to write for 10 minutes, and then both groups were given various tests of creativity. For example, trying to find alternative uses for a car tire, or listing all the different things that one could do with a brick. Can you guess the results? The 7 years old?
The ones who imagine themselves to be 7 years old probably were more creative than
Absolutely. Absolutely. Students who imagined themselves as young kids scored far higher on the creative tasks, coming up with twice as many ideas as the other groups. As you can see, this is a fairly recent piece of research, and I think there's a big lesson in there for us as teachers in terms of our creativity that we don't want to lose. And also for our students, no doubt. If only we can, at times, take them to the child within themselves. So this, I think, is a good piece of research. Okay, so I've got a little task for you. Very challenging, very difficult. And I'm going to give you only 2 minutes. Can you make, using these 18 words, can you make one single sentence? Shall I give you a clue, the first 2? It's only fair, isn't it? No, you don't want a clue. Okay, the first 2 words are our effectiveness. So you've got 16 to sort out. I've given you the 2. Our effectiveness. You can't see this bit? Oradaki arkadaşlara şey oldu ama.
Vallahi hocam kapasitesi
You found it? Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Okay, we have an excited colleague here, I think, who's ready.
Our effectiveness of the own self will be determined, largely determined by the relationship with nature. Sorry, our effectiveness of the self as a teacher will be largely determined by the relationship with nature.
Very close, very close. Can you pass the microphone?
Okay. Our effectiveness as a teacher will be largely determined by the nature of the relationship with our own self. Oh! Yeah.
Bravo. Bravo. Okay. I'm so impressed with the post-Bayram, post-holiday buzziness you have. Save this. Cherish this. It's so nice to see you bubbly. I believe in this so much. In fact, we can replace the word teacher there and write anything. Our effectiveness as a director, our effectiveness as a student, our effectiveness as a mother, our effectiveness as a dentist, you name it. So as an individual, we can only be effective if we are in touch with ourselves, if we have a good relationship with ourselves. And, you know, I think the life-work balance that people talk about is in fact a myth. Because there is no such balance. I mean, it's almost like saying work is bad, life is good. I mean, work is part of our life. So it's very important that we look at the things that make us most happy and give us most satisfaction despite our problems with workload, our motivation problems with the students. So trying to bring those more at the forefront. Okay, so we're talking about relationship with ourselves. I'm going to give you a psychology test. This is the best psychology test you will ever find. Look at the date. You can't see the date. 1939. Ehrik Wartek. And you can search it on the internet if you like later. By the way, I'm going to leave my slides with Arzu, and you're quite welcome to have a copy of them and use them if you like. Okay, so remember your A4 papers. What you're going to do, although you will need something to write or draw on, I want you to copy this exactly as it is. So if this is your A4, hold it not horizontally, vertically. And draw 2, 4, 6 boxes like this with the symbols inside. So just draw exactly what you see. If it's difficult for you to use the whole page, I mean, that's ideal. But it's very crowded here. You can also do it A5. As you are drawing, can I give you the instructions as well? Okay, once you finish copying this on paper, your task is to fill in each of the 6 boxes, as you can see they're numbered, with whatever you want. You can draw in each one, you can write words in each one, but you have to complete something in each of these 6 boxes. Okay? And because time is short, I'm going to give you like 2 minutes for this as well. Or maybe 3. Has anybody finished all 6 boxes? Can I see hands? You still need time, huh? You finished in your mind?
No, I did it.
Oh, you did it? You put in something in each box? Okay. All right, that's fine. Okay, this is a taster, obviously. Normally, with students, or if you're working with teachers, I mean, I use it with all groups, you would spend longer time, you would bring in colored pens, ideally, you know, so that people, because this is a proven test. Okay, here are the results. You're going to interpret them yourself. Shall I ask you? Yeah, this is what happens with this one, definitely. Your reaction. This doesn't surprise me. This is exactly what happens in every single group. Arkadaşlar, I love you. Hoo-hoo. Okay, this is exactly what happens, and people actually want to discuss it. And usually, they come to me to help them interpret what they have. And it's lots of fun for people to discuss it. I shall not inquire what you have in number 3. Huh? Or shall I? Number 4, number 3. Okay, so this is just in order to raise people's self-awareness, okay? Now, it is fun, but at the same time, it might be revealing to us things about ourselves or our lives that maybe we weren't initially aware of. Why do people laugh and smile when they hear what the boxes relate to? Because I think they can relate to them. See? People are still talking, you're still talking, which is good. Okay, let's continue. Now, because this is meant to be a workshop, I'm not going to go too much into the literature, but you must have heard of the 4 C's, and one of them is, of course, creativity. Now, when we look at the World Economic Forum, you might also have seen this. They prioritize the skills for 2020, which is only a year away. And as you can see, creativity in terms of a skill is number 3. It's very high up in terms of the skills that will be required of people in the coming years. And 2 quotes, well, 1 quote and 1 research that I'd like to share with you on this is this one. We are all, in some way, wired to create. So it is not true that creativity lies only with a few people or a special selected group. Of course not. We all have creativity. What is important is to make use of that through different tasks and activities as teachers. The other thing, which actually surprised me when I read this, it's a 2016 piece of research which looks at the brain, you know, left brain, right brain business. Because creativity used to be associated more with which brain? The right brain. But according to the latest findings, that's refuted. It stimulates, creativity stimulates the whole brain. So it's not like your left brain is sleeping when you're creative. Again, that seems to be a myth. And when we look at words associated with creativity, this is actually from another group of teachers like yourselves. If we had time, we would do a Mentimeter together, but that will take a bit of time. Have a look. Maybe words like imagination, inspiration, original are not surprising. But there is one word on there that as a teacher, it makes me feel good. And it makes me think that creativity is achievable. Which word? Okay, curiosity, yes, that could be. Out of the box. We don't always have to be out of the box, but we have to build resourcefulness. What does it mean, resourcefulness? Versatility, the ability to make the best use of what we have in the book, what we have in the material, our own body language, our voice projection, the way we communicate with students, that's resourcefulness. Okay. So let's have a look at a very boring task. This is a question that most students hate, don't they? What did you do over the holiday? And it's very relevant today because you guys have just come out of a 2-week holiday, I hear. I'm going to give you my sentences. I have 3 sentences there for you. 2 of them are true. 1 of them is false. So over the Bayram, I did 2 of these things, but didn't do 1 of them. How many people say the first one? So you don't think I watched John Wick. What about the dress? How many people think I didn't buy a dress? Okay. Adana for a day? Well, some people didn't put their hands up, so I don't know what to think. You're sort of even, I think. The answer is the second one. I did not buy myself a dress. Not that I don't like dresses, but I didn't. The other 2 are true. So this could be one way of, instead of asking students, what did you do over the break or the weekend, not asking the question, saying, write 2 sentences down, 3 sentences down, or even the opposite. It does, I mean, it could be 2 wrong, 1 correct. Okay? So 2 things I didn't do, 1 thing I did do. Can you think of any other ways we could make this boring question a bit less boring? This is one way.
You could have some students guess about each other's weekends. So, you know, what do you think I should do over the weekend? And then they can take a guess.
Okay. If they don't know each other very well, then it would work. So hopefully students who know each other less. Yes, that's correct. What about if I said to you, I'm going to tell you what I did over the weekend. I'm just going to say one thing. Season 5. What did I do over the weekend? I watched Black Mirror, yes. So another way of, it wasn't as good as the previous seasons though, I don't know if any of you watched. Another way of therefore dealing with this boring question could be write down a number or a name or a color or whatever that relates to something you did over the weekend. Okay? So adding a bit of color to this boring question. Okay, let me keep an eye on the time. Okay. Now, it's very important that we listen to students and what they believe in. One way of doing that is early on in the semester, asking them, these are my students, to make mind maps such as these. I ask them, what is an effective lesson to you? Think of the students, think of the teacher, think of the lesson itself. As you can see, they work in groups of 3 or 4 and write down what they believe is an effective lesson for them. This gives me a chance to hear about their expectations. Nothing complicated, no online survey, directly in class, 10-minute, 15-minute brainstorming, and I have their data, I have their expectations. What do you see next to some of them? Ticks. You know what those ticks are? Come the middle of the semester, I give these back to the same groups, and I say, do you remember these, arkadaşlar? These were your criteria for what an effective lesson is. Have a look. How do you feel? How are we doing in terms of what you expected? Very simple, and they're very surprised that I actually keep these. They're precious, it's their data. The same can be done, it doesn't have to be effective lesson. The same can also be done with qualities of a good teacher. Look, similar mind maps, little paragraph, mind map, little paragraph in all of them. And then sometimes I ask them to group these, as you can see here. These groupings are their groupings. I don't say anything. I say, look at your mind map. So here are the mind maps. And then I say, can you group these in some way? And they group them. Helpful, kind, honest, interested in student, funny, warm, sincere. This is my favorite. Appearance. Handsome, beautiful, tall, short. Organized. They want the teacher to be organized. Punctual, hardworking. And that is not where I stop. I say to them, okay, you have your mind maps, go home. Or if they don't do work at home, you can get them to do it in class. Write one paragraph using what you wrote, okay? And here's an example of that. Ferhat nerede is a real name, by the way. He's a very sweet young boy. He's graduating this year. I don't know if you can read it. I'll just read the last bit to you because it's so dear to my heart. They always come, they being teachers, they always come to school in the morning and leave in the evening so they can be tired. If they be energetic, they overcome a tiring day. Kuzucuğum değil mi? Ne tatlı. The teachers shouldn't stand aloof from students. They should be like a friend for students. Beautiful. And this student was a basic starter when he started, our lowest level. Does it end there? No. One of the things I've discovered over the years that students love working with is their own language. So what I do is I collate sections from their own writing and call it, let's learn from our mistakes, without using their names. So Ferhat, Serhat, Deniz, whatever, all the students' language is in here. And this is great material for the classroom. It doesn't have to be essays, it doesn't have to be long. Sections from their writing. And when we start working on these, most students say, Hocam, I wrote that, that's mine. I think the reason is they see that the teacher values their language despite the mistakes. So they're like, okay, you know, this is mine. I wrote that, which is really nice. And yet another one. We could do the same with qualities of a good student. Why not? Why just teachers? Look at what a student wrote. Students shouldn't lose hope for negative things. I think the most important quality is honest, because if we are honest, the rest will follow like dominoes. This is a basic starter. Using a metaphor. How can we not believe in students' potential when we see things like this? The teacher trusts us, instead of saying should trust us. Tell the truth is difficult, but every time it works. We know what he's trying to say. We understand him, it's intelligible. And again, the same thing. Let's learn from our mistakes, 2, 3, 4. I continue in that fashion. Okay, so what else can we use in terms of making tasks more creative? Now, stories is an obvious one, isn't it? But there's all kinds of stories. You will see on my last slide, probably not today because you'll be tired by then, but when you receive the slides from Arzu, please check my final slide with the sources, because there I have several key books on metaphors and stories which I often use. Do you want to do a story? Yeah? Okay, then I need 2 volunteers to come to the stage. Or maybe to start there and to come here. Korkmayın, bir şey olmaz. Do you know the story of the monster and the watermelon? How many people know it? Okay, we're definitely doing it then. Come on, I need 2 travelers who will start here. I will tell you what to say. You don't need to say anything. I will give you the lines. And the rest of us will be villagers. 2 travelers? No? Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, okay. Do you want to go there? Can we have an applause? Okay. So all you need to know, you have to decide who is the first traveler, the second traveler. You're the first, you're the second. Okay. And who are we? The villagers. This place is a field. And here there is a duck pond. Okay? Field, duck pond, villagers, first traveler, second traveler. Okay, so let's read the story. Once upon a time, a traveler rode his horse. Sorry, it says his, but I might be unable to change all the hises. Let me try again. Once upon a time, a traveler rode her horse down a hill into a village. She saw a large group of villagers up ahead looking into a field and shouting and waving their arms. As the traveler came closer, some of the villagers ran up to her, shouting, "Help, help, there's a monster in there." Help, there's a monster. The traveler looked into the field. The only thing she could see was a watermelon. Don't be silly, she said. It's not a monster, it's a watermelon.
Don't be silly. It's not a monster, it's a watermelon.
The villagers didn't like to be told this. It's a monster, they shouted. It's a monster! No, it isn't, said the traveler.
No, it isn't.
The villagers were getting angry. Anyone can see it's a watermelon.
Anyone can see it's a watermelon.
The villagers were furious. They dragged the traveler off her horse and threw her into the duck pond. Okay, we'll stop the story here while we have you waiting a little bit. Don't go anywhere. What do you think is going to happen next? You already know there's another traveler. Okay, so normally I would ask you to anticipate. Okay? Just talking, not writing anything down. But we're going to skip it just very quickly. What do you think is going to happen?
He's going to believe us.
Yes?
He's going to believe us.
Believe you, okay.
He's going to believe the first traveler.
Sorry?
He's going to believe the first traveler.
Ah.
He's going to say, "What are you doing? Leave her alone."
Leave who alone?
The traveler. Okay. "What are you guys doing? Are you crazy? Leave her alone." And he's going to go.
But she's already in the duck pond. She's gone. I mean, she's not dead, but she's gone. Okay. Later that day, long after the first traveler had crawled out of the duck pond and ridden away dripping and squelching, another traveler rode down the same hill. The group of villagers were still up ahead looking into the same field and shouting and waving their arms. As the traveler came closer, some of the villagers ran up to him shouting, "Help, help, there's a monster in there." The traveler looked into the field. "So there is," he yelled.
So there is.
He drew his sword, spurred his horse, jumped over the gate, galloped across the field, and just a minute, I lost my line. Oh my God. Okay, galloped across, slashing away in all directions. There were bits of watermelon everywhere. As he cantered back again, the villagers cheered with relief. They were so pleased that they invited the traveler to stay with them. So he did. He learned a lot from them about their way of life and how they did things in that part of the world. And he listened to their stories with great interest and attention. And in turn, he told them stories too. And he taught them things that he knew about. One of the things he taught them little by little was...
Created their own monsters.
Okay, so again, we could have students talking, brainstorming, because this is a very nice section of the story. One of the things he taught them little by little was the difference between a monster and a watermelon. The day came for the traveler to leave, and the villagers accompanied him to the edge of the village. As they passed the watermelon field, the villagers pointed into the field, laughed as they said, "Monster?" But they're laughing now. "There's a watermelon in there." Ha ha ha ha, laugh. And what do you think he says?
No, it's a monster.
What do you think you say?
Es un monstruo.
"Yes, there is," said the traveler. "And sometimes there's a monster in there too." Isn't it beautiful? Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you. If you want more stories like this, as I told you, please check the references I have on the last page. And most of these are also available free on the internet if you type stories and NLP or metaphors. Oh, sorry, this was supposed to be the background. Oh. O kadar da uğraşmıştım ama neyse. Okay, there could also be others.
Question about the story?
Sure.
Is the lesson from that that we should endear ourselves to the audience we're talking to before we tell them some things?
Yes, there could be. That's actually, thanks for reminding us. That's one of the most important things about this story. The message has to be discussed. Not making assumptions, not making prejudices about people, about things, about activities, trying to understand other people first before making judgments. Yes, thank you. Thanks for reminding us. Stories don't have to be stories like this one. Stories also can be from poems. This is actually one that I wrote in 2012, sorry. And it's talking about objects, in fact. If you look at the title, it says, "I'm not just a handbag." And I use this sort of poems to, again, promote a bit of creativity with students. What does this mean? I'm not just a handbag. That objects can have importance in our lives. And I mean, I'm not going to, I could discuss this poem with you at great length, but I won't. I'll just give you an example of the handbag. It actually refers to my mom's handbag, whom I lost in 2009. And it was a new handbag which we bought together, but she was unable to wear it even once. She died very shortly after that. And that handbag is now with me. So while on the one hand objects are trivial, you know, compared to life and nature, they have importance, don't they, in our lives. The same goes for her hat. This hat, that's me, by the way. That hat is now with me years later, and I wore it for the first time this year. So a hat is not just a hat. And again, this can generate all sorts of personal, not very personal, not too personal, but personalization relating to, you know, something that's precious for you and why. Other stories. One of my favorites that I use with, we have root 1, root 2, root 3, and root 4. So like basic, pre-int, int, and upper. And I have taught at all levels, these past 2 years, lower levels. The Little Prince in levels.com. Again, when you get the slides, you will go there. Fascinating, chapter by chapter, The Little Prince, which, as we know, I'm sure all of us, is not a child's book. It's a book for everyone, children and adults alike. The beauty of this is it's in levels. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Another advantage is it also has an audio. So the students can also listen to it as they read it. Another advantage, they have the keywords bolded according to that level from the frequency list. Please have a look. It's wonderful. What do I do with it? I assign a few chapters every week, not every day. They don't do it otherwise. And when they come back to class, all they have to do is to read or listen. It doesn't take them long. When they come to class, I give them some questions on that chapter, and we discuss them. If you look at question 4 here, so these are not like straightforward questions. They have to be a little bit thinking related. The businessman says, when you find a diamond, it is your diamond. When you discover an island, it is your island. When you have a new idea, you patent it, and it is your idea. Now I own the stars because I am the first person who has this idea. So powerful. And my question to the students is, what do you think about this idea? Is it true? If you come up with it first, it's your idea and nobody else's. Yeah? So, another advantage, I started when I used this year, my students were root 1. Which tenses? Present simple, present continuous, no others. But as they progressed and we brought in past simple, I said to them, okay guys, now when you go to the next chapter, don't click on level 1, click on level 2. So the story continued, but with past tense, in past tense. And they were so happy to, see that they can now read the story in past tense. Other stories, they're right on the internet. BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, international, you have all sorts of TRT, Deutsche Welt. But my favorite is BBC. Why? I mean, not because I'm sort of, supporting the British government or anything, but the language that is used in BBC News is most often more accessible than other, like newspapers like The Times or even CNN could be a bit difficult sometimes. This one, for example, as you can see, it's 2017 and I used it a year ago. Meet me on the bridge, discovering the truth about my parents. Has the video, has the audio. We can introduce language such as this. When I used it, it was to introduce if clause type 3. And I think, remember we said resourcefulness. Let us try not to use grammar books for the sake of using grammar. The authentic language out there is incredibly rich. We don't have to use all of it if it's level-wise difficult, but we can at least use some of it. Passives, it's all over the place. If we look at BBC Now, I'm sure, by the way, I've got 10 missed calls, hope nothing serious has happened. I'm looking at BBC News now. 3 men jailed, this is the top story. 3 men jailed for life over India child rape. Now, okay, the story might not be, appropriate, but I think you understand what I mean when I say passive. And the other nice thing about BBC is you have science, technology, psychology, health. They are sort of grouped accordingly. So when the students say route 1, route 2, less language, and you say to them, arkadaşlar, do you know where that is from? They look at you the first time because they don't know. You say to them, that is from the news from yesterday. It's international news, and they're like, wow. And the more you do it, they say, of course, we know it's BBC. So, you know, it's also good for world knowledge, depending on what we use. Other stories, of course, Black Mirror, or those that are now freely available on the internet, but not necessarily using them in class. It could be for a project or a little homework. Others, some of you might disagree with me, but there have also been times when I have used material in the student's own language. If I have a monolingual class and no foreign students, I do that from time to time. If I have a multinational class, which I did this semester, I had have a student, well, he's finished now, from Saudi Arabia. I said to them, Kasi, if you want, you can read the news in Arabic. For the task was English, but the information, the Turks could read it in Turkish, Kasi could read it in Arabic. Now, this is the same. Ekrem Öztürk, sculptor, wonderful short video, so rich about this person's life. Students watch it in Turkish, okay, as I said, monolingual class. And then there's questions about the video in English, plus a little bit of translation. I ask them, I say, this is what Ekrem says about his birth. Can you translate it into English? I don't know if you can all read it. It's a beautiful way of expressing his feelings. Look at the last line. Şimdi de çocukluğuma doğru büyüdüğümü ve kesinlikle çocuk öleceğimi söyleyebilirim. It's beautiful. So the fact that this material is in Turkish should not hold us back from using it for language purposes. Okay? So what does it mean growing towards your childhood? Such an interesting concept that can be discussed. Okay, we can also use picture stories, but I'm going to skip that. Let me just check the time. Okay. And let me check this, see if I'd like to skip things. In my, in my reading list on the final slide, you'll also see the reference for this book, which is called Kokology. You know it? Okay, then you know what I mean. For those of you who don't know it, kokoro in Japanese refers to the mind or the spirit. And the thing with this is there's situations in here, little stories in here, which you read, and most often there's choices. Without thinking twice, you choose the first one that is you feel is your response to the situation. Here's an example. One day, a bluebird suddenly flies through a window into your room and is trapped. Something about this lost bird attracts you, and you decide to keep it. But to your surprise, the next day, the bird has changed color from blue to yellow. This very special bird changes color again overnight. On the morning of the third day, it is bright red, and on the fourth, it turns completely black. Your question, What color is the bird when you wake up on the 5th day? What color is the bird originally? Blue. Then on the next day? Yellow. Then? Red. Then? Black. Okay, so which is the first one that you relate to? As you can see, the name of the book is not just cocology, it's the game of self-discovery. And again, it's something I use with students and teachers because there's so many of them, and I have Cocology 1 and Cocology 2. Oh, right, great. Excellent, we have an expert. Okay, so here are the answers, but it's just one line from what's in the book. It's only one bit of it. So what you said about the bird is all about how optimistic a mindset you have. Oh, sorry, I forgot the other one. Okay, racing ahead. I love working with metaphors. Most of the things I do in class and with teachers are related and about metaphors. And these are, especially this one, I use it every single year with my students. Because what they write is always different. Which fish are you in this picture? Little creative writing in class. I collate these, and we exploit them both in terms of meaning and language in class, so I take it back to them. You can read them when you receive them. They're absolutely beautiful. I probably have minimum 100 of these extracts as data from students. Other metaphors. This is from another source, houses, chairs. Both of these come, we're not going to do them because we don't have time. Mind games, a box of psychological play. The first one, the houses, tells you about your personality, the one you choose. And the chair one tells you about friendship, how you approach friendship. But how do I use it? Well, I don't use them as psychology tests. For example, I say to students, we have been together for 8 weeks so far. Which chair have you been sitting in or on until now? Beautiful. The houses. Which house represents our classroom better? Because you see, it's not the building, it's not necessarily the physical quality of the chair, it's the feeling and the way people relate to them. This should be available in DNRs, so you can check there. Images, visualization. There's a lot you can do with colors. Look at the beauty of this. What color is your life? What color is your family? What color is Yıldız Technical University? What color is our classroom? Could be anything. Why? Other images, such as these, that we could build tasks around, or cartoons that focus on different issues, or If you were to have a tattoo, another tattoo, which tattoo would it be? You can say none, but you know, if you or choose your own one. Another one. Let me give you an indication of, it's 3:19 now. We started 10 minutes late, but don't worry, I'm not going to keep you that long. We're approaching the end. We talked about mind maps earlier, but mind maps are always done with phrases and words. Why not with questions? Look at this example. The topic, improvements to my local community. All of these in the mind map are questions. Now, it will become clearer if I show you a picture like this one of my favorite paintings, Joseph Israel's Children of the Sea, it's called. If I were to ask you to make a mind map about this picture or painting using questions, can you shout out a few questions you can ask about this painting?
What happened to the parents?
What happened to the parents? Well, our colleague is assuming they have parents, okay? What happened to the parents?
What are they looking at?
What are they looking at? Great.
What time of the day is it?
Yes, what time of the day? What month of the year? What season is it?
Are they all siblings or friends?
Okay, excellent. Siblings or friends. I think this gives you the idea. Questions, two advantages. One, we rarely ask our students to ask questions. Usually it's us who ask the questions. So this gives them the opportunity to build their questioning skills. Second advantage, that will help them to put using whichever of these questions to practice their creativity and make a little story out of this, hopefully using whatever language you want them to use. Yeah? Maybe present simple for historic past, maybe past tense, or other target language items. You see how simple it is? One image, questions, and will generate great language and practice. Okay, this one I'm going to skip. Now, this is one of my favorites. This is a boring section from the course book that I used this semester. Well, I say boring because the students find it boring. Normally, I like collocations. So what they do is, this is unlock. I mean, Cambridge, we love Cambridge, so no offense intended. So first they complete this in brief, range of, focus on, etc. And then they place them here. Okay? So what happens in the feedback? Hocam, hocam, so they do it. Okay? And they think it finishes there. So let's say number 1. What is the answer? States may encounter financial challenges when an increasing number of older people have to rely on them for support. Okay? So let's say Selih answers this and it's like, okay, good, Selih. And then, oh, John, number 2. And I say, no, we haven't finished yet. And I say, what does them refer to? And they're like, what? And the nice thing about this is it gets them to actually think of the meaning. So not just completing rely on, you know, people rely on, but to actually understand what this sentence is talking about. Same thing with the others. There's so many of them in every language book. So during the feedback stages, trying to exploit it as much as we can. Or instead of this, if you don't like that, you could say, So Seni, my student, finishes this, says, have to rely on them for support. I say to Seni, hang on Seni, great answer, but you haven't finished yet. I want you to ask an open-ended question about number 1. Can you ask a question, open-ended? Open-ended, so not yes, no. Why? What's the question? Why? Okay, we can say why may, why do states encounter blah, blah, blah. How can states cope with da, da, da? Okay? Again, they need to think. Now, am I suggesting you do this with every single? Of course not. But every now and again, doing it instead of the normal feedback in the book, so that students are like, yeah, okay, now I understand better, and challenge themselves a little bit. Other ones, fill in the blanks. We all use this because it's in our exams, isn't it? And let's accept it, let's be honest, it's one of our favorites, isn't it? What's the difference with this one? Look at the date. This is yet another example of what I use almost every week. Real, authentic material, despite my repeating students. I worked with a group who had very low motivation this semester. Very difficult to motivate them. And, you know, I was trying to sell this idea. Arkadaşlar, look, 23rd of April, this is from last week. And the good thing about this is it's not created. This is real. This happened. This woman suffered this accident, and then the story continues. So it's more than just fill in the blanks. It's something that we can discuss with students. Another one. Mini presentations by students. Mini. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. For example, if you're doing a unit on science, could be any other unit as well, but you could say to them, go to the website. It says, best innovations of the year, scientific inventions. Choose one of those inventions. There are 100. Which year? 2018. Choose one. And with your group, groups of 3, I don't like groups of 4 because then they tend to. This is what they prepare. And if you think they won't do it for homework, get them to do it in class. 3 minutes. If they want to browse this, it's not going to take them very long, and I'm sure because it's scientific inventions, they're going to find one that they like. Normally, when I do this, I spread out the presentations so that I don't have to devote 1 full lesson or 2 full lessons to it. So it's spread over several days or sometimes weeks. If that's no good, if you're saying, sorry, I can't devote time for this, do 1 minute non-stop. This is a favorite speaking activity which you probably already use. You time them. 1 minute, there's a topic, but what I'm suggesting is we use an authentic topic from whatever source, because there's so many on the internet. Okay. The other thing I like using with students is diary tasks. Every now and again, I get them to write in their diaries, which they are free to share with me or not. It's entirely up to them. They are not academic questions. They are not even proficiency-related questions. They are about them. Look at the examples. I have my favorites, of course. Look at the last one. When was the last time you apologized to someone? How did you feel? And of course, there could be more questions. Who was it? Why did you apologize? And remember, they don't have to share. It is space for them. Okay, let's finish with a colorful, well, not colorful, but let's see if we can go back to the internet here. Click on this. Are any of you using wheeldecide.com? You're gonna love it. wheeldecide.com. You can see it. It's also ClassTools.net, and again, because you're gonna get a copy of my slides, it will be there. Ama açılmadı henüz. It's buffering. Establishing secure connection. Okay, here it is. So you can do anything with this. You can have student names on here and choose students. You can have topics on here like I have. You can use it for dice instead of dice. Anything. You can have money, dollars on it, which can be used for game shows. But this is one I use for speaking. So you just click on it. But the way I do this is I send this link to students. So they actually tap on the thing, not me. I'm doing it here now because I can't send it to you. A place I'd love to visit is because. So both students, if it's in pairs, talk about it. When they're finished, you know, love is, etc. And it says, notice it says remove. So because they've already discussed this one, if they click on remove, that one will go. And the other topics will stay. Okay? Just one more to give you an idea. Okay. And there's other things like I am earth, fire, water, or air. Because. Beautiful, huh? I told you I love metaphors. My biggest strength is ... And there's no because there, so that they feel confident enough to do it. Okay, final thoughts. And it's 3:35. Now, there are 3 slides of teaching principles, which I'm not going to go through. But please, I'd be very pleased if you could look at them later. These are things I really believe in. And in terms of my teaching principles, summarize what I've been trying to promote with you today. Okay? So these are all on the slides, and Arzu will send them to you, maybe even today. I'm sure you have a group list. Okay? And the answer to your question, I haven't forgotten. This was 2 years ago. 3 families, my family, elder sister, younger sister, went to Chile for the day, 2 cars. On the way back, I said to them, there's somewhere by the coast, back from Chile to Istanbul, I said to them, I don't remember the name, but shall we go there and maybe we can have a beer or tea or something on the way back? And everyone was, yeah. I got lost trying to find the way wherever that was. And there's this other car, my sister's car, behind me. My enişte, one of my eniştes is Australian, and he's not very happy when, you know, things are not very organized. So I'm like sweating like hell, thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to find this place. What am I going to do? And we're like driving and driving and driving, and I'm not exaggerating. For a good hour and a half, I was almost in tears. And then we came to this, I still don't remember the name. I think I psychologically blocked myself. We came to this stupid end of the road place, and there appeared the sea. And I'm like, we've arrived. But there's nothing else around. No tea shop or coffee shop or whatever, you know, just the sea. It was this sea, this seaside. The moment we got out of the car and, you know, looking at people's faces, everyone was like, so I just started walking to the beach, and it was like, which of the ones you said? Starts with an E, S, C, A, escape. Really, I wanted to get out of there as soon as I could. Fortunately, it turned out to be one of my best photographs. But that's the story. Thank you so much. Çok teşekkürler. Thank you so much. Wow, I love these. Can I just want to say, I talked about my mother earlier. You won't believe it, but if you know the name of these flowers, Lisianthus, they were her favorite flowers. Thank you so much. Çok teşekkür. Çok teşekkür. Sağ ol canım.
Hocam simge sahip
Oh, canım. Çok teşekkürler.
Çok teşekkür
sağ
ederim.
olun.
Ayağınıza sağlık. Eksik
Rica.
olmayın. Gerçekten
Sen de
çok
sağ ol.
mutlu ettiniz.
Sen de sağ ol.
Ben teşekkürlerimi anlatırım. Çok
Oh,
teşekkür
canım
ederim.
benim.
Sağ olun.
Ben sana şimdi bunu kapamadan
Evet, şimdi
hemen
bana sonra
yollayayım. İstediklerini
Tamam,
istedikleri şekilde kullanabilirler. Şunu hemen yollayalım.